Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. We have a brand new item from Compass Games here that Compass was kind enough to send me. But this is on Kickstarter right now. You can get the pre-order price still, so check that out if you're interested. It is Barbarians at the Gates by Chris Van Beurden and artwork by Shane Logan. It's a nice heavy box. It's a 2-inch Compass box, pretty standard sized Compass packaging. Let's open her up and take a look at it. Now what we have here, I don't know if card driven is a correct term, but there are cards. And what we have is a point-to-point war game about the late Roman Empire. So let's open her up and see what we get. All right, so we get 2 6-sided dice, a kind of nice looking gray die, which is a color I don't see on dice very often, and a red die, so there's that. We get 2 decks of cards, Excultus and Barbarus, so that's pretty cool. We get a playbook, we get a rulebook, we'll take a look at all this stuff in a minute here. We get some player aids, there might be more. We get counters. Now these are very thick, pre-rounded, looks like about 5/8 inch counters. Counters look nice. Presumably the red counters are Roman. That would make sense. That's kind of traditional. It looks like we may have some minors up here. We have some more counters. These are a little smaller than the other ones, I think. Yeah, it totally looks like it. So there's 4 sheets of these, or the better part, at least, of 4 sheets of these counters, and then we have a mounted map. We'll take a look at the map. Let me lay the map out. I will move everything off camera and lay the map out, and we'll do everything else on the map. Okay, so as you can see, we have a point-to-point map here. We got a bunch of different points, including Italy. Looks like we've got Roman names on a lot of the provinces. A couple of the provinces are a little bit hard to, the names are a little bit hard to read. Italia, Annonaria. I'm having less problem with the Latin on that particular one than I am with the contrast. All the other contrast and all the other territories looks okay. The board feels really nice. It's got a nice texture to it, and it lays very flat out of the box. I'm very impressed with that, as that's something that I have seen a lot of hard-mounted wargame maps not do. And then we've got these tribal alignments and provincial control tracks on the side. There's additionally a turn track. So, looking at the cards, let's take a look first at the Barbarus cards. Okay, so, Barbarus cards. I like to try to match the classical pronunciations, which are different, of course, from the modern or Church Latin pronunciations. This is not pooching because of the map. This is actually pooching a little bit because I have something under it up there. Okay, so we got what looks like ops points on the cards. We've got some very interesting thematic artwork on here that reminds me a lot of Frazetta, I think. Really nice art, actually. I don't know if Shane Logan is responsible for all this art or not, but whoever is, I think they did a very nice job. And then on the red cards, Flavius Arbogastes. That I'm probably not pronouncing quite correctly. So this is very late Roman Empire, right? We're not going to get like Julius Caesar cards here or anything like that. Also, something that we're not getting a treatment of is what now gets called, or used to get called, I suppose, the Byzantine Empire, which is kind of its own thing, but the Byzantines never called themselves Byzantines, they called themselves Romans. So it looks like we have 2 separate decks of cards here, and what I'm seeing so far looks kind of like a relatively traditional card-driven thing. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Please feel free to tell me if it isn't in the comments below. Well, we've got some player aid cards, all right? We've got 3 different player aid cards. We've got a sequence of play. Action rounds definitely makes it sound like there is a pretty standard, traditional, I should say, CDG mechanic. And certainly I think we've seen plenty of CDGs set in Roman topics, let's put it that way. Maybe not in this exact period. Reinforcements, raids, and plunder, sieges. That's one-sided. strategy card play. Ah, cool. So these are the different actions that you could take when you play a card. That's actually pretty cool that there is a handy summary of those. There are some CDGs that I wish had those things. These are all one-sided so far. Then we have a battle, like a little battle summary of play. Movement sequences. Avoid battles, usurpation. So the player aid cards look well put together. So this is 4th and 5th century, which is quite late Roman period, for the Western Empire at least. Of course, the Eastern Empire's really just getting started as its own thing at this point. So here's the rule book, and this is a 44-page, full-color, glossy paper rule book. Quite nice. As you can see, the paper's got, I don't want to say texture, but it's got a textured look to it. But I'm not seeing any contrast. Sometimes that creates contrast problems. I'm really not seeing that here. The print is not super duper tiny, nor is it super duper large. This is kind of in my comfort zone of print. A lot of illustrations though, which is good. This game looks pretty interesting. Leader activation. Yep, so we have ops points. So it's probably an interesting exercise to see how much Ardwulf can tell about the game just by leafing through it without really having done any research on it whatsoever. Here's a combat table. Cool. Looks like there's DRMs on that combat table, which I would expect. Rating. Here is what looks like a little example here. And there's a playbook too, remember. All right, so not an incredibly simple-looking game, which doesn't bother me in any way, but very nice production values that I'm seeing so far. It's a nice-looking game. Now, here's the playbook. This is same paper quality, 32 pages, and in here we have scenarios. Looks like we have 7 scenarios, which is great. An extended example of play, a gazetteer, card clarifications, designer's notes, credits, and bibliography. Now, Compass is pretty good at slipping last-minute errata into the box, and there isn't any here. So let's assume, for the moment at least, that there just isn't any big serious errata, but Compass will put that on their website if there is. All right, so scenario special rules. All right. I've skipped. Okay, the first migrations, 364 to 410. Okay, the numbered turns are tied to a specific period. So this looks like a 3-turn scenario. Starts in turn 1, ends during the victory phase of turn 3. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Nice graphic aid to tell you that, actually. Okay, that was the second scenario. Here's the first scenario, the successor strife. There's 2 first turn turns, A and B. Those are on the turn track as well. So this is a 2-turn scenario. So it looks like here's a 4-turn scenario, the Gothic invasions. The final decline, 428 to 476. 6 through 9 turns, so this is a 4-turn scenario. Here is a 6-turn scenario, the Germanic invasions. Here's a tournament scenario, that's pretty cool. That there is a tournament scenario, I like that. And here's the Barbarian invasions, this is 9 turns. And then finally we have Barbarians at the Gates, the big mega full scenario, which is 9 plus 2, so 11 turns. We've got here's our extended example of play using the Barbarian invasions scenario. Looks nice and detailed. I have said many times that I consider an extended example of play to not be optional anymore. I think the expectation is that one will be included, and the more detail that you include, or whoever includes, in that extended example of play, the better. This looks pretty detailed, so I am very pleased. Oh, look at this. Here is a historical name and actual... Okay, cool. So these are Latin names for various places that are on the map, but which are named something different now. So Noviomagus, for example, is the city of Nijmegen, which, everybody watching this channel probably has heard of. If you haven't seen the film A Bridge Too Far, go do that now, and I'll be back when we get done. So Augusta Treverorum is Trier, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool. Fiorentia, city of Florence. Roma is Rome, of course. That's pretty cool that they include that. I really like that. Nice little touch. Could probably have taken up less space less page space, but it's pretty cool that it's included. Here's some card clarifications. Here's some designer's notes. That's another thing that I feel like should not be considered optional ever, is designer's notes. I think there should always be designer's notes so that you, the player, opening the box, can kind of figure out where the designer's coming from on this particular, whatever topic the game is about. So we have designer's notes, so that's great. And here is our credits. Game design by Chris Van Beurden. Graphic design by Shane Logan. Book layouts by Bill Morgall. Compass logo banner by Brian Miller. Component proofing by Stan Vandervelden. And core playtesting by, looks like, a bunch of Dutch folks, which might explain why Nijmegen is on the map, actually, but still, that's pretty cool. I want a bibliography, too. Gibbon, which is really not a great, not an up-to-date source, but the other sources that they list here, Grant specifically, I am familiar with, and Grant is everybody's more up-to-date than Gibbon. Gibbon wrote hundreds of years ago. It's still kind of a good book. It's still worth reading, but I'm glad that there's a bibliography included as well. So, this has been a very brief look at a new release from Compass Games, Barbarians at the Gates. As of this filming, as I mentioned before, it is on Kickstarter for the late pre-orders. So there's a link in the video description, so go ahead and check that out. And I'll put a link to Compass Games' product page once the Kickstarter closes, so people don't run around looking for, how to buy this thing if they are interested. It's a very promising looking game, Barbarians at the Gates from Compass Games. I would like to thank you for watching. Please help support Ardwulf's Lair by subscribing, liking the videos, commenting down below. If you'd like to do more to help support this channel, please do consider checking out the Patreon, the merch store, and the Ko-Fi, all of which are linked in the video description. Please do check out our Monday live streams at 8 p.m. Eastern. And once again, thanks so much for watching. Happy wargaming.